All right, let's talk about something you've definitely seen in the pharma world, the quality policy and quality objectives. But what are they really? Are they just, more paperwork that's designed to sit on a shelf and gather dust? Or could they actually be the real heartbeat of a company? Well, that's what we're going to find out.
Okay, so let's be real for a second. We've all been there, right? You walk past that nicely framed quality policy hanging on the wall in the hallway, and you can't help but wonder, is that thing just for show? Something we only pay attention to when an auditor is about to walk in? It's a super common thought, but today, we're going to challenge that.
First up, more than just paper. Because look, these things are supposed to be about the real purpose, the big why behind everything we do. So let's peel back some of those layers and see what's actually hiding behind the fancy words.
Yeah, this is the big perception we're up against. A lot of us see these documents and think, ugh, more bureaucratic hurdles. Like they were only created to check a box on an inspector's list. Just a total box-ticking exercise.
But here's the thing. In reality, it couldn't be further from the truth. These documents, they're kind of like the company's soul put on paper. They are a direct reflection of how the entire organization, from the very top all the way down, truly sees and acts on quality every single day.
So that brings us to our second section, the quality promise. And we've got to start with the foundation of it all, right? The quality policy itself. I want you to think of it less like a document and more like the company's ultimate promise.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its core, the quality policy is just a clear, formal statement. It's the company standing up and saying, hey world, we are committed to making our drugs safely, with the absolute best quality, and we're going to follow all the rules. It's that foundational promise.
So who actually makes this big promise? Well, this isn't something that's just whipped up by a junior associate in a back room. No way. It comes straight from the top, from top management. But here's the key. While they create it, the responsibility to actually live it, well, that cascades down to every single employee in the company. Absolutely no exceptions.
And this is just so important to get. We have got to break that old mindset. A quality policy is not just a pretty decoration for the wall, and it's definitely not a prop you pull out for the audit theater. Its whole purpose is to be a living, breathing part of the culture every single day.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, you see the policy come to life when an operator follows an SOP, a standard operating procedure, perfectly, even when they think no one is watching. You see it when someone finds an error and reports it right away without being scared of getting blamed. And you definitely see it every single time someone resists that urge to take a shortcut. That's the daily proof. Okay, moving on to Section 3, from promise to action. A promise is a great start, but how do you actually keep it? Well, that's where quality objectives come into play. This is what makes it all real. It's how we go from just saying we'll do something to actually having a plan to get it done.
I think this is the absolute best way to understand the difference. The policy makes that big, grand statement, right? It says, quality is important to us. But the objectives, they're the practical part that immediately asks, okay, great, so how are we actually going to do that?
And that is exactly what they are. Quality objectives are these specific, measurable goals that turn that big promise into reality. They connect the high-level vision of the policy to the actual work people are doing on the ground. Think of them as the bridge between saying you'll do something and, actually doing it.
So let's look at some real-world examples you'd see in pharma. We're not just saying something vague like, we'll get better. No, we're setting concrete targets. Things like reducing the number of deviations from last year, or making sure all our CAPAs, that's our corrective and preventive actions, get closed on time, or providing specific training for everyone, or putting a plan in place to stop the same mistake from happening over and over again. And this distinction is just so critical. Look, we will do good quality work. That's a nice thought, but it's not an objective. Why? Because you can't measure it. How do you know when you're done? But we will reduce repeat deviations by 20% this year. That is a powerful objective. It's super specific, you can absolutely measure it, and it's got a deadline.
So just remember these 3 golden rules for any good objective. First, it has to be clear. Everyone needs to know exactly what it means. Second, it has to be measurable, so you can tell if you actually hit the target. And third, it needs a deadline. That's what creates focus and a little bit of urgency.
All right, on to Section 4, what regulators really see.
So we've got our nice policy, we've got our smart objectives, but now let's talk about the real test, right? The audit, the inspection. What is an auditor really looking for when they show up?
Now, you might think the first thing they do is ask to see the framed policy on the wall. But is that piece of paper what really truly matters to them?
Nope. An auditor's real focus goes way deeper than that. They don't just want to see a document. They want to talk to the people doing the actual work, the operator on the floor, the analyst in the lab, and find out if they understand the policy. Can they explain how what they do every day connects to it? That's what they're looking for. Proof that it's being practiced, not just published.
And, this kind of clarity is super important for any company, but it's especially crucial for small and medium-sized ones. A really solid policy and clear objectives act like a compass for the whole organization. It makes sure that everyone, no matter what department they're in, is pulling in the exact same direction. It just creates incredible alignment and focus.
So look, if you only take one single thing away from all of this, let it be this simple idea. The quality policy is the promise, and the quality objectives? Those are the actions that prove you're keeping that promise. That's it. It's the promise you make, and then it's the actions you take every single day to deliver on it. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Next time you're at work, just take a second and look at what you're doing, the SOPs you're following, the decisions you're making, and just ask yourself, how does this one thing I'm doing right now help fulfill my company's big quality promise?